Today I wanted to do a driving tour of a couple of specific aspects of living in a small city like Topeka. This is a capital city of Kansas, and they have some unique things about them, little quirks and the way people in the Midwest think or behave. But one of the first things I wanted to show you was where I live in relationship to what they call the Westboro Baptist Church. This church was set up by Fred Phelps, who now has died in 2014. He was an attorney, he was disbarred. I have a couple of links in my description about this family, but they are anti-everything. They don't like Jews, they don't like Catholics, they don't like gays. They hide behind their legal status, and he was obviously disbarred eventually. There's even FBI reports about him, and they just are a couple of blocks down from where I live now. When my daughter bought this house in 2009, they were on the streets all the time protesting. Now I have never seen anybody, maybe once, protesting on a street corner. I mean, they used to be all up and down the streets where the shopping was on Wanamaker. So it has really turned around, and it's toned down, and really they're just their own church. So let me show you where they are in relationship to where I live. I have just turned out of my driveway, and I'm going to turn down the street here. They do have parking now, so I can park across from where they live, and I'm going to show you how close they live. That was one street over, 2 streets over. I'm coming up to the 3rd street, and they are right here. And I can park, so it's not an issue. And I will just show you what is going on with the Westboro Baptist Church. I honestly don't know how these people feel who live directly across the street from this place, because they're right there and these people live right here. So it's kind of like a, unfortunate occurrence that they have to live across from that, but they've been there forever. I think they moved here in the 60s. I don't know, but there is a timeline of Fred Phelps, and from the time he was like 17 on to 2001 that you can read about. Again, I'll have that in my description. Unfortunately, it's raining today. I'm not going to get out of my car, but there really isn't much to see other than their house. But I'm going to start and drive because the street ahead is actually closed. So this is the Westboro Baptist Church. They have their sign up. They have their bulletin board that rotates around. Over here. They probably don't like you filming, but I really could care less. And this is where they live, just a couple of blocks from my home. They are anti really everything. They're a hate group. Then right across the street from them, we have the rainbow houses, and these people specifically painted these houses the rainbow colors to defy them. They are just, anybody can come and visit, or if they feel endangered, I think can go there. I'm not really sure what their purpose is. I'm going to look them up a little bit more. I'm just going to take another little ride through here just to show you. Now, crime is high in Topeka. We've already surpassed the number of homicides, violent crime from last year. It's not good, but I will say one thing, even though it's not good, these crimes are generally either among people that know each other. There's not random killings or shootings or drive-bys. These are people that know each other. They could be domestic related crimes where they're just shooting their lover or whatever they're doing. And it's really unfortunate because because the crime rate needs to come down. These people have to think more clearly, and obviously they're not going to. So it's always in an area beyond McVicker. To me, that's the line that I don't want to cross if I had to live here. I would stay as far away from that as possible. There is, always, a feeling of, well, am I being, discriminating? Well, I am. I don't think that's a good area, and I'm sorry for people who live past there, but getting closer to Washburn University generally is fairly dangerous. So here's another part of this Westboro neighborhood, and you can see these houses are a little smaller, but everything is kept nicely, and people take pride in their ownership of their homes, which is nice. And people are very friendly. If you walk your dog or you are walking by, people will talk to you, say hello. I've even been able to ask people, where do you get your dog groomed? What veterinarian are you using? Because that's another thing I want to get into about healthcare here. It's very not up to par in my opinion, and that's just me. And I live here, and I'm somebody who has to use the healthcare system, so I think I am a good judge of that based on the fact that I worked in medical information for years, and I used to read a lot of records for coding and such, and you would see the level of care doctors were giving based on, their documentation and stuff. So it was very, very good because I know what to look for when you're talking about a medical record and a diagnosis and what is involved with, being healthy or staying healthy or finding a good doctor. I do still use things like Medifind and health grades to help out with knowing where to go. But to be honest, the healthcare system in Topeka is not good. I mean, look at these beautiful homes. These homes were built like in the 40s, 50s. Some of them are really old. Some of them are built in the early 1900s, but they're beautiful homes, and all different kinds. There's one story, and there's these 2-story brick. I mean, they are gorgeous. These are not poor, uneducated people living in Topeka by any stretch. And a block away, you'll find homes that are, 1 story, less than 1,000 square feet. And a lot of them, unfortunately, have been owned by investors who have rented them out, and it's not a good thing. I know people have to have a place to live, but it's not a good thing for the community. These people have no commitment to the community or to maintaining these homes, and unfortunately, a lot of these investors are not just, one-home investors. They're LLCs. They bought up these houses. They're renting them out. They don't maintain them. And I'm going to tell you a story in a minute about people who rent out and how things can go really bad. So over in North Topeka, there was a little girl who has since been murdered. And she was brought to the attention of the Child Protective Services here, and nothing was done about it. And unfortunately, now she's deceased. It's really sad. But I'll tell you one thing, the home that she was living in was a rental, and the place was totally disgusting, filthy. The owner didn't even care. She lived somewhere else in Topeka. It's not like she couldn't go over there and check on this property, and she just totally, Can I get in? Nobody wants to let me in. Nice people. Oh, here they go. Thank you. And she was murdered, and she was murdered by actually a person who is a sexual predator. So this is the downside of the rental population, is that the homeowners don't care, and then the renters don't care. So you have a double whammy about the housing situation here in Topeka, especially when you get into the smaller homes. So here's another part of this Westboro neighborhood, and you can see these houses are a little smaller, but everything is kept nicely, and people take pride in their ownership of their homes, which is nice. And people are very friendly. If you walk your dog or you are walking by, people will talk to you, say hello. I've even been able to ask people, where do you get your dog groomed? What veterinarian are you using? Because that's another thing I want to get into about healthcare here. It's very not up to par in my opinion, and that's just me. And I live here, and I'm somebody who has to use the healthcare system, so I think I am a good judge of that based on the fact that I worked in medical information for years, and I used to read a lot of records for coding and such, and you would see the level of care doctors were giving based on, their documentation and stuff. So it was very, very good because I know what to look for when you're talking about a medical record and a diagnosis and what is involved with, being healthy or staying healthy or finding a good doctor. I do still use things like Medifind and Health Grades to help out with knowing where to go. But to be honest, the healthcare system in Topeka is not good. Here's some mess in front of that house. Yeah. This is where it's the beginning of the start of problems in Topeka. I don't like this area, and I could be just being silly about it, but I don't like it. I don't trust being down here. There's been a number of incidents at this particular location and beyond. This is where a lot of the crimes are happening, a lot of the murders are happening, and you'll find that the population is not as highly educated. You have very low education levels here. There's only about 30% that go to school and finish and go to college. That's it. 30% go on to college. The rest of the people, they don't. So I just want to tell you that I'm going to go into I'm going to take a right and just show you. As you go down, this is past McVicker, this is what it starts to look like. You have Louis Lounge and Laundromat, you have abandoned buildings, you have a lot of auto car places. My veterinarian happens to be on this street, but this is where a lot of nonsense happens once you get past here. If you go down over one more couple of intersections to 6th and McVicker, there's a Walmart there. They've had a fire in the bathroom because probably someone was trying to, light their crystal meth or something. And it's just bad. And then you have a lot of people go to Stormont Vale. Stormont Vale is the trauma 2-level hospital in Topeka. And that's where you go when you have a gunshot. So basically, that's it. But I'm out of light, so let me show you. These are all empty buildings over here, right next to the hospital. It's really bad. Really bad. Yeah. So this is the Topeka and Shawnee County Public Library, and it's really, really nice inside. This is a brand new building, and it even has a Millennium Cafe inside. They have some outdoor seating over there, and it's just very nice. It has Claire's courtyard where you can sit outside. It's a really nice thing. It's great. But believe it or not, a lot of the stuff is online now, of course, because it's ebooks, but I still like to go to the library and get a book that I can hold in my hand. So we have 2 hospitals. The trauma level 2 is Stormont Vale. They have some buildings over here on the right. And I'm going to go down the street here so you can see there's 2 hospitals. And they're actually down the block from each other. One is Stormont Vale right here, which I'm going to go around the block and show you. And none of them are very tall, but it is what it is. And this is the hospital here. And then there's another hospital that I'm going to have to leave a lot of one-way streets here in the downtown area. As you're getting closer to downtown, I'm not yet to actually the Capitol, but we're getting closer. So now I'm driving around the back end of Stormont Vale, and as I go towards the other end of the street, way down, there's a second hospital, and it's called, it's the University of Kansas, St. Francis campus. And I've heard from people telling me now that it's only at 5% ownership by the University of Kansas. It's run by a third party. It's no longer run by St. Francis. And people have said the quality of care is not great. A lot of people go to them because they think they're Catholic and, you know, whatever. But let me show you what it looks like. So, you can see on the top, they have a big sign, a blue top. It says University of Kansas, St. Francis campus. They actually don't line up with the University of Kansas electronic health records. They have their own health records. So it is definitely separate from the University of Kansas, but it gives the illusion that they're really strongly affiliated with them, and it turns out they're really not. So I've looked up doctors here, and for all the doctors they have a lot of DOs, and they have a lot of nurse practitioners handling the workload, the caseload, and that does not resonate well with me, because when I pay for health insurance, I pay to see an MD, and whether I go to you, the MD, or the DO, I get charged, you know, my insurance gets charged, and I'm using the insurance so that I get the best level of care that I can afford. And again, that's just me. I totally feel like this is what I want for myself and for my husband, and to go to the best hospital that I can based on my insurance. And because I live here, I can take a totally different spin on areas just because, you know, somebody drives by and see things run down. Doesn't mean it's dangerous, but I do know the areas that I like to avoid, because I do know which areas are a little bit shady, and the line that I'm willing to cross, and what time of day, and whether I really want to. Would I be walking around here? No, I don't think so. That's just my opinion. I don't feel the need to be walking around late at night in any of these neighborhoods. Now, once I'm here, I'm past McVicker, and you can see the houses look a lot nicer already, and people are maintaining things, and you don't have to worry about your safety as much. It's just overall nicer. And I don't know, maybe because it's on the main road, people are just more conscious of their environment. But although last year they started to crack down on people who were not maintaining their lawns, they had over 2,000 complaints of people who were not maintaining their lawns. You can call on them when the lawn gets, I think, 18 inches or 2 feet high, and of course they can cut it down. Doesn't mean that the lawn has to be beautiful. It could be just a mass of weeds still, but as long as it's cut down, they're not going to do anything. But they have had people call on people with a lot of trash in their yards that they can see from the street, because a lot of people have chain link fences here. That's really a common thing, or some broken down fences. I can tell you right now, there's broken down fences all over this area here. Not very nice. I'm telling you, we're getting closer. As you get closer and closer to downtown, it gets worse and worse. Yeah. So now I'm going to drive around and I'm going to show you where there have been some criminal incidents happening. Again, they started at McVicker and they go down into the city. There's just a few of them. There's only one that was really terrible. I'll drive by. I think the house should be, either boarded up or it's been fixed. But they had a man that set his girlfriend and the 2 kids he had with her on fire and they died. So that was also a rental house. So let me go and show you these other locations where there have been some criminal activity. This is such a nice little street. I just don't know where this house is. The streets here in Topeka are weird. If they don't go straight across, they can curve to the right or the left, and then you can continue going on down that street. And you wouldn't think that that would be the way it would work, but it does. And I don't know which way Warren would be if they're continuing on. So let me see where it goes. Let me see what I have here. So, no, this says it's Collins. So, 913 must be somewhere else. I'm going to just have to, I've never driven past this, so I'm going to have to find it. So I found the location where the fire was that killed the woman and her 1-year-old and her 9-year-old. It's 916 Warren. And I know it's down here somewhere. House right there, and this 917 is next to it. 916 over here, it's across the street. Let me turn around. It's now for sale. They had to rebuild it. It's for sale by Berkshire Hathaway. So I didn't think the house would still be standing after there was a major fire. Let me show you what it looks like. This house that has this big dumpster in front of it, this is where the 2 children and the lady were murdered by fire. And it's now up for sale. They had to rebuild it. I mean, it's not a terrible street, but I just don't get it. People are just violent around here. I did a video on where they had the Hummer Sports Complex. This is where Topeka Mental Health Institute, formerly the Topeka Insane Asylum, was located. And that was closed in 2000, I think it was 1998 it was closed. I'd have to revisit that. But right in front of us is the Topeka Civic Theater, which is on 8th Street. And it's actually very nice inside. They have local people come and, do the acting. And they're from the School of Washburn University. Some of them are theater students, some aren't. But it's very nice inside. They also have great desserts and great coffee. And they offer drinks. So you can buy anything you need. As far as food goes, they even have a dinner theater a couple of days a week. And it's only like $30 a ticket to go see a play here without, any food or drink and without dinner. So if you are on a limited budget and you don't want to drive real far, this is like a mile from my house, which is great. So when we want to go, we go. We just go over, get tickets at the last minute if they have some, and it works out really, really well. So since this is the capital city, the biggest employer is going to be the government, and they get out at 4:30 in the afternoon, so there's not as much traffic right now, which is good. So I'm going downtown to show you where there was a bank robbery, which is a couple of blocks off the main strip where the Capitol is and everything else. I'm back up to where the library is now and where the two hospitals are, and there isn't even any traffic from people getting out from the hospital. It's been very light, the traffic lately, and I'm kind of wondering why it's been so light, but I don't know why. I've been downtown during the middle of the day. I've been on Saturday and Sunday, and it's been very, very light all the time. I think people aren't going shopping anymore. It's become a real problem with the cost of things and people not having, they want to pay their bills, I'm sure. So even though we do have some lower costs here, maybe gasoline, our electric, internet, our gas bill, they're all high. And if you looked at our tax rate for our property taxes, it's high also. My property taxes just happen to be they're about $1,700 this year on a 950 square foot home. So the tax rate is pretty high. I figure if I lived in a house similar to what I lived in Plano, which was $3,500, I'd be paying close to the taxes that I paid there. This is where the houses start to really get a little shaky. You can go down some of these blocks here and they'll call it a historic district, and some people have renovated some of them and some of them are in really bad shape. So it really depends on where you're looking and what you're looking at, but we're getting very close to the downtown area where the Capitol will be on your left-hand side. I've showed that in another video, so you can check out, I'll put a link here to it so you can see where the other video is. The rain is really coming down now. I was going to try to do it on a different day, but today was the day I planned on doing this drive around, and it's just started to pour. I'm just going to show you one last thing as we go along here. On the right is the Kansas Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and I'm going to pass by my street that I would normally turn down, but this Capitol Federal right here, some woman walked in, said she had a gun, and robbed it. So this just happened like a couple of weeks ago. I have not heard of a bank robbery in ages, but it happened here in Topeka. So there you go, right near the Capitol. The Capitol is 1 block, 2 blocks over from here. So the problem with Topeka Boulevard and the Capitol being there, you would think, hey, it would be fairly nice, but it's not. Topeka Boulevard has really taken a downturn. Everything moved to the west up to Wanamaker. So all that's left here now is a bunch of bail bonds, some public offices like the Red Cross, a lot of attorneys. There's the Social Security Administration here. The National Guard is way down, and the road is horrible. I am jiggly, wiggly all over the place because the road is just totally crumbling and falling apart. I'm going from Topeka Boulevard west towards Washburn University, and this is 17th Street. Again, Washburn University is past McVicker, and these streets, the ones that are named Polk or Tyler or Clay or any car president's names, they're the worst streets. So I just keep that in mind, that the worst streets are the presidents, and I like to stay away. This is Fillmore. A lot of drugs, a lot of people not maintaining their. This is Central Park Avenue, so this is like Central Topeka. People hanging out under here, maybe waiting for a bus. Here's Clay. JM Staffing, next door liquor. I'll tell you another thing. For the population in the state of Kansas, we have more liquor stores than bigger cities per capita. It's amazing. I have the statistics at home. I will add that into my video when I talk about it when I'm back home. I'll give you the rundown on the alcohol liquor stores. Everything is closed down over here. This is Washburn Avenue. A lot of things have since closed. There used to be a Dillon's down here, and it's now a Grace Medical, but this apartment complex we're going past, that's where my daughter originally lived when she was going to law school at Westboro University in 2009. And even though they were brand new then, it was horrible. They had a lot of undergrads that were making a lot of noise. Plus, she had a problem with a man above with pit bulls. There was also another story going around that my daughter, at the time, when she moved to her house, had a beagle. And they said they were stealing beagles because they would cut their cords and they were using them for experiments. So that really got us thinking. And, you know, I was like, oh my God. So she really was like watching her dog all the time when it was in the backyard where we live now because of that. It's interesting to know that people, you know, do the drive arounds, and I can show you all the horrible housing, but I could also tell you that Topeka put a resolution in to put some money aside to demo houses that they've condemned, to get them off the books, to get them away from having squatters or fires happening in those areas. And it wasn't a lot of money. I think it was like $500,000, and I'm telling you, they charge like a fortune to demo stuff. So I don't know how many houses they're going to be able to get fully demolished, or if they've even started, or what part of the city they're planning on doing that in. But they've renovated some houses that are close to the Capitol, and that would be good for people who want to be employed as a city worker or state worker, so they can have a job and they can walk to work. And they've also, you know, have the bus lines which allow people to commute, so there is public transportation. Here's another for rent house. And this balanced rental place, they're all over the place too. And a lot of these people are renting. They do rent because they can't get, they can't buy a home for whatever reason. And a lot of them don't have great credit scores, so you have to ask for at least 2 months of rent put aside, especially for damages. And a lot of them don't live there full time. I found the people down the block were only there for like 6 months, so people are not taking long-term rental leases. That's another problem in Topeka. They have very, very poor infrastructure maintenance. The roads are crumbling, the water lines are crumbling everywhere. We've had a number of water lines break everywhere throughout the city. The street I live on, which is 12th, which was a bus route. You can see how my camera's shaking. That was a bus route, so they fixed that, and they made a parking lane now and a bike lane, and put all sidewalks in so people can walk without getting hit by cars. But the road was totally chewed up, and for a bike path you need to have a smooth road, and for public transportation, you know, you'd like to make sure that the roads are, you know, good as well. So they just reopened this road 10. It was closed forever because they were doing work on the roads. This road, Oakley, here that I'm on, it actually is a lot better as far as the road goes, and it's not as chewed up, but they don't want to repair things, and now that things are breaking, they're forced to repair it. So that's the way the story goes, and the taxes are going up, and they're tacking $9 more on everybody's water bill to pay for the new water lines. So these are things you have to take into consideration. You're going to move to a small city, your choices may not be as great. Like, we only have one electric company, and they have a monopoly here. You can't, there's no other place to get electricity from. I've never heard of that. I've always had a choice for my electric company, but not here. And this street is the street behind my house. This street is really chewed up too. It's really bad. They were working on a number of these drains, clearing them out, trying to get that cleaned out so that the sewers would work better. I don't know what they were doing, but they worked and worked and worked, and it took 2 years for them to do this strip of land. The because it rained and rained and rained. It was going through the winter. The longer it took, the worse it was. So that's the result of it taking a long, long time to do things. What I wanted to talk to you about was the rental situation. So this house right here on the right, that's a rental, and that's not the only one on this street. There's a number of them on this street. So if I go down this way, this is two ways, so I can go back to show you. So if you go there, that's one rental. This house here is a rental. The house next to that is a rental. At the corner where I'm going to make a U-turn, and I'll show you, this big white building on the end, this is a rental multiplex, so it has multiple units inside of it, and that's a rental. And let me tell you, that was full of debris and whatever was going on with the lawn. And I spoke to the property manager because I saw her, and she said, oh, we had no idea it was going like that. The guy we hired, the company, we were paying them every month to do the lawn, and obviously they weren't doing it. So that shows the property management people don't come and follow through on their commitment. They take 10% of your rent, and they don't do anything. They don't even do drive-bys. Because if it was a drive-by, they would have seen this. Now, this house is a really nice little house. And it was owned by an elderly man who died now in April, and it's not been sold. Nothing's been done with it. I don't know if it's going to probate or what the problem is, but I'm always afraid, again, the squatters are going to come in here and want to live in a house that's empty. This house next to it is a rental. The man next door would tell me about this person, how the daughter lived there, was really a problem. He had to call the police a number of times. The daughter's moved out. It's been years, but she is renting there. And this house over here, just so you can see, it's a beautifully done house, but what happened was it was falling apart, he said. So the man who lived in this house, he became an opioid addict because of an injury to his hand from a work incident. He was on disability. His son also became an opioid addict. They found the son that killed himself with the father's shotgun. A utility worker found him in the back, and then the man was ultimately beat to death by some burglary, they said, but I said it probably was his drug dealer that killed him for not paying his opioid bill. And then it went to somebody who bought it for like $30,000 and redid it, put an addition on the back that we're not even sure was permitted, but at least it's owned by a nice woman now. This house here is also a rental, and I believe the house next door to that is also a rental. So rentals are everywhere. So here's another situation that was really getting bad. This house here, I don't know if this is a multi-family. I think it's just one family living there now, maybe. It was really horrible. People were not taking care of their houses. Those apartments were not being taken care of. This house on the corner, this one was called on too because there was trash everywhere, garbage. Now they still have a RV sitting out there, which I don't think is too nice because it's not even on the driveway, it's not on a pad, but nobody cares, so I guess I don't have to look at it again. I'm not going to say anything. These people over here, there's something going on with them too. The house was a disaster. All of a sudden, it's all cleaned up on the outside. I think somebody got after them, or, you know, the town did it. I've heard the town will come in and do the cleanup and then charge you if you do not clean up your act. So, and then people get upset because they say, well, I can't afford. Well, they said you should have done it. I just passed my house and I'm going to turn left on the street that is right behind me. This used to be a beautiful street. Well, it has turned into an absolute disaster. And again, it's because of rentals. So this house right here, the blue one, is a rental. This house next to it was a rental that was totally destroyed. The owner sold it and it was only sold for $87,000, and people moved in and it took them 3 months to fix the interior. This little white, this yellow and blue one right here is a rental. And this house here has been empty for 2 years. So again, I'm afraid of people becoming squatters. And this house I know is a rental with the little pumpkins in the front. And these people have small children, and they keep the houses that look like I would want CPS, to come in and check. That's my opinion. I don't understand why people live with junk and garbage all over the place. Sometimes they open up the garage doors and it looks like they're exploding. This house on the left, you can't see it, but this is where the sheriff was living, and he's selling his house, I guess. But he was no offense. I don't know much about the Topeka police, but he was no great shakes. He's something with the sheriff's department, I guess. Because people were across the street, had like some kind of a dumping ground business. I don't know what they had, but there's a lot of garbage in their backyard that you could see. It was like they were running a, when you have automotives. So I'm back home, and I think I showed you a lot of different things about Topeka. Again, I'm not going to go through these bad areas that people like to do for, dramatic purposes. And it is bad. It exists. It definitely is true. The pictures they're showing you, but I don't live anywhere near it. And there's a whole nother part of Topeka that people don't generally see or they show. And I'm going to give you more information about the lifestyle here than people who are just driving by would be able to tell you and show you and direct you to neighborhoods or the areas, or whether south or east or west or north might be good or bad. So I'm going to continue on with this video. So let me get inside and work on additional pieces that I can talk to you about. I finished the driving tour of Topeka, and I wanted to show you that, yes, while there are dangerous areas, I also wanted to show you that just because some area looks a little bit run down or the houses are smaller does not mean that the area is dangerous or unsafe. I don't want it sensationalized that every area that has some rundown houses is an area that you have to totally avoid, because that is not true in Topeka. I want to give you a little information. Topeka is a small city. It only has 125,000 people. They're in Shawnee County. They're the 9th wealthiest county out of 105 in the state of Kansas, with a per capita income of $29,000. We're about 25 miles from Lawrence, Kansas, which has the University of Kansas. And we're about 45 miles from Manhattan, which has Kansas State University. And within the city, we have Washburn University, which also has a law school attached to it. And so it has a little bit of everything here. You have to be willing to accept what a small town has to offer. Most of the people will be working for the government, education, or the healthcare system here. And this is just a brief overview. So if you like this video, I'm going to be doing others. So give it a like, a share, a thumbs up, and a subscribe. I'll see you next time on Big City Girl, Small City Living. Bye.